This lesson will be on deconstructing a question. And by the end of the lesson, you will be able to deconstruct the question in order to inform your plan. And why do we do this? Well, to answer any question in English, you need to identify what it is asking. That may seem really obvious, but actually it is often one of the more complicated things to do. And once you've got it right, then the rest of the essay becomes much easier. So the main question that the majority of you will be answering is to explore how an idea is conveyed in Lord of the Flies for a particular purpose. One way of deconstructing the question is to identify the why, the what, and the how. So, why might the author have written the text? What is the meaning you make from the text? And how has the text been constructed? With this question, the why is for a particular purpose. The meaning you have to identify is an idea, and we're asked to consider how it is conveyed, and that will relate to all the different choices that Golding has made. We're going to start with the purpose, because it's often a good idea to start by thinking about why a book was written. And if you haven't started filling in your Cornell notes, make sure you are doing that as we go through the next few slides. So, we can't go back in time and ask Golding why he wrote this book, but what we can do is consider his context and the context of the world in which he was writing, so the context of production. And what do we know about the context of production? Well, we know that Golding fought in World War II and was deeply affected by his experiences during this time. We know he was writing at a time of great inequality, where the rich were very, very rich and the poor were very poor. We know he was writing at the start of the Cold War, which deeply affected people all across the world. So this was the war where the capitalist West were fighting against the communist East. And we know that Golding was deeply critical of colonialism and this idea of English people being better than those that they invaded. So he might have been writing for the following reasons. Highlight the horrors that man could do to each other, influenced by his experiences in World War II and the growing Cold War. Or maybe it was to explore how quickly civilization disappears, influenced by these experiences of war. Or maybe he was highlighting how damaging the class system was, or how false superior ideas of colonialism were. Next up, we're going to look at the idea. So an idea is what the text is saying about the real world outside of the text. And what is this text saying about loss of innocence, order and chaos, and inclusion and exclusion? Well, perhaps it's saying that innocence is lost quickly under traumatic circumstances. Or maybe that without the order of society, chaos quickly takes over. Or maybe he's saying it's dangerous when people exclude others. These are just a few different ideas from the text. I'm sure you've come up with many more. And finally, the how. You will always be asked how in some form or another in an English question, because that's what we're looking at, how the text is constructed. So in this case, the idea is conveyed through the choices that Golding has made. And these might be to do with characters, such as Jack or Ralph, the symbolism, such as a conch or the fire, the setting of the island, or other narrative conventions, such as a conflict or the narrative point of view. Once you have all of these things, you then put them together. So one of the ideas, that civilization quickly disappears if no one enforces it, links nicely to the purpose of responding to what Golding saw in World War II, as it warns the audience what people can do to each other when civilization is removed. And how is this particular idea conveyed? Well, through Jack and the Hunters becoming more violent and anarchic, the island setting, and the symbolism of the conch. There are many other ways that it's conveyed, but these are three that I have highlighted. Once you've got this, all of these three things, you then need to pull them together to make your thesis statement and your main argument for your essay. And here we go. Golding explores the idea that civilization quickly disappears if no one enforces it. He conveys this idea through the characters of Jack and the Hunters becoming more violent and anarchic, the island setting, and the symbolism of the conch. He was writing in response to what he saw in World War II to provide a warning about what people can do to each other when civilization is removed. So where to from now? This obviously is my argument that I have come up with, but you should never go with the first argument that comes to you, the first idea, purpose, and how it's constructed. So to start off with, once you've deconstructed the question and worked out what it's asking for you, the next thing to do is to mind map as many different answers as you can come up with. And you're going to do that in today's lesson before coming up with your own thesis statement, the argument that you are going to use in order to write your essay.